Day 3, no power, no water, no heat, and the utility company just told us it could be another 5 days. When 80% of the power poles in our area snapped under heavy snow, our family faced a harsh reality. We were completely unprepared for what came next. In this video, I'm going to share the 10 items that became the difference between surviving and suffering during Wisconsin's worst power outage in history. Whether you live in snow country, hurricane zones, or anywhere in between, these lessons could save you and your family when disaster strikes. Stay until the end, because item number 1 isn't what you'd expect, and item number 10 saved us when everything else failed. Welcome to Pantry, where we turn real-world disasters into practical wisdom for everyday families. If you want to protect your loved ones without becoming a doomsday prepper, hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss our life-saving tips. When the power first went out, we thought it would be back by morning. In rural areas, brief outages are just part of life. But as hours turned into days, reality set in. The power company announced that the infrastructure was devastated. Utility poles had snapped like toothpicks under the weight of heavy, wet snow, and repairs would take over a week. Suddenly, everything we took for granted disappeared. The lights, the heat, running water, even the ability to flush toilets. Our well pump stopped working immediately, and once the pressure in the lines ran out, we had nothing. The propane heating system and stove were useless without electricity to run them. We were left with only what we had on hand and what we could scramble to find. Let's start with item number 1, and I'll be honest, this one humbled us. Bottled water became our lifeline, and that's hard to admit. We'd always prided ourselves on using refillable bottles and avoiding single-use plastics. We had our reusable bottles, our filtered pitcher, our environmental conscience intact. But when the well pump died and the taps ran dry, all that idealism evaporated. With no running water, bottled water became essential for everything. Drinking, obviously, but also cooking, basic hygiene, even brushing teeth. You don't realize how much water you use until every drop has to be rationed. We went through our initial supply faster than expected, and panic set in when we realized stores were running low too. The lesson? Keep bottled water stocked at all times. At least 1 gallon per person per day, and more if you have pets. It's not about abandoning your values in normal times. It's about recognizing that in an emergency, practicality trumps everything else. We now keep a dedicated supply that we rotate regularly, and we'll never let ourselves be caught without it again. Being unprepared isn't just foolish, it's irresponsible when you have a family depending on you. Item number 2 is what transformed our situation from desperate to manageable: generators. By the time we realized we needed one, they were already sold out everywhere locally. My husband spent hours calling stores within a 100-mile radius and finally found one place 2 hours away that agreed to hold a generator for us. He drove through hazardous road conditions, snow still falling, to bring it home. Once we got that generator hooked up and running, life changed dramatically. We could run the furnace, which meant we weren't slowly freezing. We could power a few lights, which meant we weren't stumbling around in darkness. We could keep one bathroom functional, which restored a basic level of dignity and sanitation. The generator also allowed us to help our neighbors. They came over to charge devices, get water, even take showers. After the outage ended, we made a critical decision. We bought a second generator as backup. If the first one failed or needed maintenance, we couldn't afford to be without power again. Generators aren't cheap, but they're worth every penny when they're the difference between maintaining your home's basic functions and watching everything fall apart. They keep food from spoiling, maintain communication, and most importantly, in our climate, they keep you from freezing. But before we had that generator up and running, we were in serious trouble. That's where item number 3 saved us: propane heaters. When temperatures plummet and you have no central heat, portable propane heaters become your best friends. We used 2 types. The first was a Sunlight heater, attached to a standard propane tank, the kind you'd use for a grill. This provided steady, reliable heat for our main living area. The second was a buddy heater that runs on those small green propane canisters. It's more portable and perfect for moving between rooms. These heaters kept our living space warm enough to prevent hypothermia. Not comfortable, mind you, but survivable. In the Midwest, spring storms can still bring freezing temperatures, and without heat, a house becomes uninhabitable fast. We'd huddle in the living room with blankets, the heater going, trying to conserve body heat and propane at the same time. The key lesson here is redundancy. redundancy. We had multiple heat sources, multiple fuel types, and backup options. If one failed, we had another. When it comes to staying warm in freezing conditions, you can't have too many backup plans. Now we keep extra propane tanks filled and ready, and we store those small canisters in bulk. Heat isn't a luxury during a Midwest winter, it's survival. Item number 4 made an enormous psychological difference: a camp stove. For the first day and a half, we ate cold food, sandwiches, crackers, canned goods straight from the can. It's amazing how quickly cold meals wear down your morale. There's something deeply demoralizing about eating cold beans from a can when you're already stressed, cold, and uncertain about when life will return to normal.
When we finally got the camp stove set up, everything shifted. We could make hot soup, we could cook pasta, we could boil water for coffee and tea. Hot meals weren't just about nutrition, they were about maintaining hope and normalcy. The warmth of hot food in your stomach does something to your spirit that cold food simply can't match. We now keep multiple non-electric cooking options: a 2-burner camp stove with plenty of fuel, a propane grill that can be used outdoors, even a small portable burner as a backup. Each one gives us another way to prepare hot meals if the power goes out again. And trust me, when you're facing day 5 of an outage, having options matters. Item number 5 worked perfectly with that camp stove: cast iron pans. Cast iron cookware proved itself invaluable during those 8 days. First, it's incredibly durable. You can use it on a camp stove, on a grill, even over an open fire if it comes to that. Second, and this is crucial when water is scarce, cast iron is easy to clean without much water. You can wipe it out with a paper towel, maybe use a tiny bit of water if needed, and it's ready for the next meal. When you're rationing every drop of water, the last thing you want is cookware that requires thorough washing. Our nonstick pans and regular pots stayed in the cupboard because they'd waste precious water. The cast iron got used for everything: eggs, soup, sautéed vegetables, even baking when we got creative. If you're building an emergency preparedness kit, invest in quality cast iron. A large skillet and a Dutch oven will cover most of your cooking needs, and they'll last forever if you take care of them. Plus, they work with any heat source, which gives you flexibility when normal cooking methods aren't available. Item number 6 kept us fed when cooking felt like too much effort: convenience foods and MREs. Meals ready to eat, MREs, were a game changer, especially before we had the generator and camp stove operational. These military-style meals come with their own chemical heaters, so you can have a hot meal without any external heat source. Just add a little water to activate the heater, wait a few minutes, and you've got warm food. It's not gourmet, but when you're cold and exhausted, it's exactly what you need. We also relied heavily on shelf-stable convenience foods: canned soups that could be heated quickly or eaten cold if necessary, canned ravioli, crackers, peanut butter, granola bars, things that required minimal preparation and no refrigeration. In an emergency, nutrition and simplicity matter more than culinary standards. The mental load during a crisis is enormous. You're worried about when power will return, whether your food will spoil, if your family is safe and warm. The last thing you need is complicated meal preparation. Having foods that can be ready in minutes with minimal cleanup removes one source of stress from an already overwhelming situation. We now keep a dedicated emergency food supply that includes MREs, canned goods, and easy-to-prepare items. We rotate them to keep everything fresh, but they're always there, ready for the next disaster. Item number 7 seems small but made a huge difference in those first cold days: hot hand warmers. Before the generator was running and we had reliable heat, these little packets were lifesavers. Hot hand warmers are small, disposable packets that produce heat through a chemical reaction. Once activated, they stay hot for up to 10 hours. We tucked them into socks, pockets, blankets, even sleeping bags. For the kids especially, these warmers made the cold bearable. When you're trying to keep children comfortable and safe during a crisis, small measures of comfort become incredibly important. A warm packet in their pocket or at the foot of their bed helped them sleep, helped them stay calm, helped them feel like everything would be okay. We bought them in bulk after the outage. They're inexpensive, they store well, and they provide immediate warmth when you need it most. When you're shivering and waiting for a generator to arrive or a heater to warm up a room, 10 hours of concentrated heat in your hands or feet makes all the difference. Item number 8 eliminated a major source of stress: paper plates and plastic utensils. With water severely limited, washing dishes was out of the question. We needed every drop for drinking, cooking, and basic hygiene. The thought of using precious water to clean plates and forks felt wasteful and frankly impossible. Fortunately, we had a stash of paper plates and plastic utensils left over from parties and holidays. These disposable items meant we could eat without creating a pile of dirty dishes we couldn't wash. It sounds simple, but reducing the mental load during a stressful time is crucial. One less thing to worry about, one less problem to solve. We now keep a dedicated tote filled with disposable plates, bowls, cups, and utensils specifically for emergencies. It's not about using them regularly. It's about having them ready when water is too valuable to waste on dishwashing. In a crisis, these items aren't wasteful, they're practical necessities. Item number 9 kept us connected when isolation could have made everything worse. Power banks. Communication during a crisis is absolutely vital. We needed to stay in touch with family members, receive updates from the power company, coordinate with neighbors, and call for help if necessary. But with no power, keeping phones charged became a serious challenge. Power banks, portable battery chargers, allowed us to keep our devices running. We'd charge them with the generator when it was running, then use them to top up phones throughout the day. Without them, we would have been completely cut off once our phone batteries died.
Weather updates, road closures, information about warming centers and food distribution sites, messages from loved ones checking if we were okay. All of that depended on having a charged phone. Power banks aren't expensive, but they're absolutely essential for emergency preparedness. We now keep several fully charged at all times, and we make sure they're compatible with all our devices. And finally, item number 10 became our link to the outside world when everything else failed, a battery-powered radio. When cell service became unreliable and power was out across the region, that radio kept us informed. It provided updates on the outage, how many people were affected, what the power company was doing, when service might be restored. It gave us safety information and weather updates. It told us about community resources like safe haven centers offering hot meals and showers. But beyond the practical information, the radio provided something else: connection. Hearing that others were experiencing the same challenges was reassuring. Knowing we weren't alone, that an entire community was dealing with this together, made the situation more bearable. The voices on the radio became familiar, almost comforting during those long days. Old-school technology still has its place in emergency preparedness. Radios don't depend on cell towers or internet connections. They work when modern communication systems fail. Every emergency kit should include a battery-powered or hand-crank radio, along with plenty of backup batteries. It's one of those items you don't think about until you desperately need it, and then you can't imagine being without it. Beyond these 10 items, one of the most important lessons was about community. We opened our home to neighbors who needed help. People came over to charge devices, take showers, get water from our well once the generator was running. In small towns, mutual aid is a way of life, and sharing resources made the ordeal bearable for everyone. We also learned to adapt constantly. With limited power from the generator, we had to make strategic choices: run the living room heater or power the water heater for showers, keep the main area lit or charge devices. We'd turn things on and off based on immediate needs, constantly juggling priorities. Food preservation was another major concern. Many families in our area lost everything in their freezers: hundreds of dollars of meat, frozen vegetables, prepared meals, all gone. We were fortunate. Our chest freezers, kept in the cold basement, retained their temperature remarkably well. We didn't open them unless absolutely necessary, and when items started thawing, we moved them to the garage freezer, which stayed cold thanks to the outdoor temperatures. Chest freezers hold cold much better than upright models, something to remember when choosing appliances. After those 8 days ended and power was finally restored, we sat down as a family and made a list of changes. We weren't going to be caught unprepared again. We now keep bottled water stocked for both people and animals. Propane heaters and extra fuel are always available. Multiple non-electric cooking options are ready to go. Shelf-stable convenience foods and MREs are stored for emergencies. Hot hand warmers are purchased in bulk. Paper plates and plastic utensils are kept in a dedicated emergency tote. We have 2 generators and multiple power banks. Battery-powered radios are part of our emergency kit. But beyond the physical supplies, our mindset changed. We no longer see emergency preparedness as something for extreme preppers or survivalists. It's a practical necessity for any family, anywhere. Pride about avoiding disposable items or relying solely on eco-friendly options is secondary to being ready when crisis hits. Natural disasters are becoming more frequent and severe. Every region faces its own risks. Snowstorms in the north, hurricanes on the coasts, wildfires in the west, tornadoes in the plains. Being prepared means having the right supplies and a plan for when, not if, the unexpected happens. Start by assessing the risks in your area. What disasters are most likely? Tailor your emergency kit to your climate and local hazards. For cold climates, prioritize heat sources and warm clothing. For flood-prone areas, focus on water safety and evacuation plans. Build your supply kit gradually if you need to. Start with water, at least 1 gallon per person per day. Add non-perishable food that requires minimal preparation. Get heat sources appropriate for your climate. Set up non-electric cooking options. Stock warmth items like blankets and hand warmers. Keep paper dishes and plastic utensils for emergencies. Invest in generators and power banks. Add a battery-powered radio and backup batteries. Then maintain those supplies. Check expiration dates on food and batteries regularly. Rotate water supplies to keep them fresh. Make sure fuel is good and generators are in working order. Test your equipment so you know it works before you need it in a crisis. Know your neighbors and discuss emergency plans. Share resources and skills. In a real disaster, community support can make the difference between struggling alone and getting through together. Plan how you might help each other, whether that's sharing a generator, splitting bulk water purchases, or checking on elderly neighbors. Practice your plan with your family. Make sure everyone knows how to use emergency equipment and where supplies are stored. Try cooking a meal without electricity. See how long your power banks actually last. Run a drill to identify gaps in your preparation. Emergencies are stressful, especially when basic needs are threatened. Managing that stress is part of survival. Simplify meals, reduce unnecessary chores, focus on warmth and safety first, everything else second. Accept that your normal standards will need to shift temporarily, and that's okay.
Children are especially vulnerable during crises. Keep routines as normal as possible, provide warm meals, and ensure physical comfort. Involve kids in simple tasks to give them a sense of control and purpose. Let them help distribute hand warmers, count water bottles, or arrange supplies. It helps them feel less helpless. Stay connected however you can. Use radios, phones, and community networks to stay informed. Share your experiences with others. Talk about what you're going through. Isolation makes emergencies harder, but connection builds resilience. Our experience during Wisconsin's historic power outage taught us that preparedness isn't about paranoia or fear, it's about practicality and responsibility. It's about protecting the people you love. The 10 items that got us through those 8 days are now permanent fixtures in our home, and our entire approach to emergencies has fundamentally changed. No matter where you live, taking steps to prepare for the unexpected can protect your family, reduce stress, and foster community resilience. Start small if you need to. Build your kit piece by piece. But start, because it's better to have these supplies and never need them than to need them desperately and not have them. Don't wait until the power goes out to realize what you're missing. Start building your emergency kit today with these essentials. Drop a comment telling us, what's the longest you've gone without power? And what saved you? And remember to like this video and subscribe to Prep Pantry for more real-world survival wisdom that actually works. By sharing these lessons, we hope to encourage you to take preparedness seriously, not out of fear, but out of care for those you love. Whether it's a snowstorm, hurricane, or blackout, being ready means facing challenges with confidence and compassion.